In this series, I will do comparative readings and analysis of three of my favorite books, one of which I had the opportunity to read prior to my decision of starting this series, one of which I left aside for the unforeseeable future in hopes that I would pick it up again and finish reading, and lastly, one of which have been roaming free in my mind until I finally decided to pick it up and start to read. It would be the latter of these books that led me to see some similarities between their style of writing, their methodology, and the ideas and/or metaphors they offer to their readers. I will talk about the writers and the nature in which they found themselves to write these books to the best of my knowledge. However, do not count on the information that you are given, as the series will only focus on the pure enjoyment one can get from reading these books. I decided to call the series the Uncharted Territories, because what these books are trying to explore is quite unusual to the typical reader. These books, while having been written in different periods of history with different intentions, have similarities between them which urged me to go about analyzing them in depth. Now let's discuss the books one by one. Carl Gustav Jung's The Red Book is full of intriguing material that feeds from ancient mythology, modern literature, and theology. I remember finding it very interesting to see the clash between these three practices. Carl Jung, in this book, between the years of 1914 and 30, looked inward and enriched his findings with colorful imagery. As can be seen from its cover, the book's eerie nature can be attributed to the unique way in which it was brought to life by its author. Jung had followed practices of active imagination and to note down his notions, which eventually led to the birth of this book. In terms of its narrative and theme, it suffices to say that the book finds itself coinciding with the other two, as they all primarily revolve around the journey with ascetic characters, seeking ways to gain an understanding of their purpose and achieve it if possible. Having read this book before, I'm going to cut short on my recollections and experience it once again through a tabula rasa. You will see I will attempt to deconstruct this book, sentence by sentence if need be, to get a grasp of what it has to offer. Hopefully I will succeed. Hypnerotomachia Poliphili. Imagine a book whose every sentence contains a piece of poetry, and goes back and forth between dense imagination and pure reality, while engaging in both the happenings of the past and the amusement of the present, through a lens of pure affection towards one's most beloved. Poliphilo, our main character, embarks on a journey to reach out to his beloved Polia, and thus the reader goes down the rabbit hole into a realm in which angelic nymphs, unique magnificent architecture, and mythological figures play along in one story. The sense of having gone through a trance while skirting the surface of consciousness in an attempt to awaken oneself is the conjoined theme in this magnificent book, believed to have been written by Francesco Colonna in 1499. The name of the book, which is also translated as The Strife of Love in a Dream, comes from the joining of three words together: hypnos, eros, and mache, so sleep, love, and strife. The name of the main character, Poliphilo, accounts for the meaning of the lover of many, as can be seen if the name is deconstructed as poly and philae. The name perfectly describes the nature and constant intrigue Poliphilo has towards anything he encounters on his journey. But the name can also be understood as the lover of Polia, which stands to be the main occurring theme in this book. Needless to say, aside from a wise choice of words, a constant sense of poesy, and crystal clear depictions of Polyphilo's surroundings, the book contains imagery and drawings as well, to complement the reader's experience. All in all, this book might be the only book in my life that I will never get bored from experiencing it, as it withstood 500 years of literature, and is still considered to be one of the greatest masterpieces of Western literature, or so it should be. The Divine Comedy. Compared to my experiences with the other two, this masterpiece remains a mystery waiting to be unrevealed. The sheer joy I get from the concepts of descending and ascending through different circles make me more interested than ever. It goes without saying that to unearth the similarities and parallels between the other books will present itself as a true experience for me. The account of God in both the Red Book and this book, the way real and imaginary is combined in both Hypnerotomachia Poliphili and this book, are just two of these categories I would make, not having read the book. Dante wrote this book 2000 years earlier than the Hypnerotomachia Poliphili, basing his writing from the political events that took place in Florence, which directly influenced his life and led to his exile out of Florence. Finally, out of all these books, the Divine Comedy contains the bulkiest of imagery, connections, and metaphors due to its sheer size, comprised of 3 volumes: Hell, Purgatory, and Paradise. With that being said, out of the 3 books, the Divine Comedy shall be the last book I read, to make the most sense of any possible connections I might come up with among the 3 books. Now, to conclude my introduction, I want to point out my methodology in going as far as reading these books and their commentaries, if possible, as for the case with the Divine Comedy, to make sense of them, reading secondary materials if need be, and present my findings to you. You can find most of my sources on my community segment or in the playlist section. If you have recommendations, I'm all ears. I'll also be sharing weekly or bi-weekly updates on this process on my Patreon account. Hopefully, you will enjoy the ride as much as I will. I want to finish off by reading an excerpt from each of these books, the first of which is from the Red Book. It had struck me as I've read it. It had a strange effect on me ever since. The text is provided with the image you will be soon shown on the screen as well. The second is from Hypnerotomachia Poliphili's opening letter, a letter from Poliphili to Polia, what I consider to be the most intense love letter I've ever read. And the last excerpt is from the Divine Comedy, from the first volume titled Inferno. I hope you enjoy watching these videos and reading these books as much as I do. Take care and see you soon. Henceforth, I am completely alone. I can no longer say to you, listen, or you should, or you could. But now I'll talk only with myself. Now no one else can do anything more for me, nothing whatsoever. I no longer have a duty toward you, and you no longer have duties toward me, since I vanish and you vanish from me. I no longer hear requests and no longer make requests of you. I no longer fight and reconcile myself with you, but place silence between you and me. The cold dies away in the distance, and you cannot find my footprints. Together with the west wind, which comes from the plains of the ocean, I journey across the green countryside. I roam through the forests and bend the young grass. I talk with trees and the forest wildlife, and the stones show me the way. When I thirst and the source does not come to me, I go to the source. When I starve and the bread does not come to me, I seek my bread and take it where I find it. I provide no help and need no help. If at any time necessity confronts me, I do not look around to see whether there is a helper nearby, but I accept the necessity and bend and writhe and struggle. I laugh, I weep, I swear, but I do not look around me. On this way no one walks behind me, and I cross no one's path. I am alone, but I fill my solitariness with my life. I am man enough, I am noise, conversation, comfort, and help enough unto myself. And so I wander to the far east. Not that I know anything about what my distant goal might be. I see blue horizons before me. They suffice as a goal. I hurry toward the east and my rising. I will my rising. Canto III. Through me you enter the woeful city. Through me you enter eternal grief. Through me you enter among the lost. Justice moved my high maker, the divine power made me, the supreme wisdom and the primal love. Before me nothing was created, if not eternal, and eternal I endure. Abandon every hope, you who enter. These words of obscure colors I saw inscribed over a portal, whereupon I said, Master, their meaning is hard for me, and he to me, as one who understands. Here must all fear be left behind, here let all cowardice be dead. We have come to the place where I have told you you will see the wretched people who have lost the good of intellect. And when he had placed his hand on mine, with a cheerful look from which I took comfort, he led me among the secret things. Many a time, Polya, I have thought of how ancient authors dedicated their works aptly to princes and magnanimous men, some for gain, some for favor, and others for praise. But it is for none of these reasons, except perhaps the middle one, that I offer this hypnotomachia of mine. For I can find no prince worthy of its dedication than you, my mighty empress. Your noble situation, your incredible beauty, your highly regarded virtue, and your outstanding behavior by which you hold the first place above any nymph of our age, have inflamed me excessively with a noble love for you. I have burned and am consumed. O splendor of radiant beauty, ornament of all grace, famed for your glorious looks, receive this small gift, which you have industriously fashioned with golden arrows in this loving heart, and painted and signed with your own angelic image. It belongs to you as its only patron. I commit this gift to your wise and intelligent judgment, abandoning the original style and having translated it into the present one at your behest. Thus, if any fault appear therein, and if you should find any part of it sterile and undeserving of your discriminating approval, the blame is yours, as the best operator and only possessor of the key to my mind and heart. But I cannot think of, nor hope for, any reward of greater value and price than your gracious love, and your kindly favour for this. Farewell.